something. If Quick Trip moves in there,
That'll take care of it.
they better close the doors on the corner, Monica. Monica better close her doors.
Yeah,
That happened.
I'm surprised they don't buy them out, because I know a guy that used to work for some big outfit in Oshkosh there. Quick Trip come in and says, we want to buy this. Well, it ain't for sale. Okay. We'll go across the road and buy those houses, whatever it takes, and we will put you out of business.
Oh, yeah.
So they sold them there to
They
Quick
got,
Trip.
they got like 6 or 8 of them in Stevens Point now.
They got 4 in Oshkosh.
Yeah.
As you can see, Mount Warren's got a big,
They're huge.
big increase.
Well, didn't that start out as Kickapoo years ago?
Yeah. I think so.
That's what I thought.
That means that they lowered the total valuation.
You gonna run again for county board?
Raised our valuation by 10 million.
Are you gonna run again for county board in the spring?
That means
No.
Mount
Who are you
Warren's
gonna get to run for you?
John Razor
Probably lowered some of those lake fees.
worked for
Oh, okay.
This one got,
I heard Harvey Nye was gonna run.
Is he any good?
you know, in spite of having $1.5 million.
I heard your buddy Harvey Nye was gonna run.
Oh.
That's what I heard.
He's too busy. He's too busy messing
Getting in
around.
trouble?
He's too busy messing around with
I'm
the
gonna
neighbor
say,
ladies.
maybe we want to have somebody from the government revenue come and speak to us in another meeting.
good idea. Good idea.
Ruthie?
No lie.
Oh, I got something to tell you later.
That's why
I've only been on one committee with you, and that was the library, and I thought you contributed a lot there.
I'm gonna too.
Nothing from Brian last night about the Bill Hancock fire station.
I have the
I think so.
list of the sales that they used at the, and more on here in the second.
I guess they've got by all
I had a
this time
chance to
with
be
all
on your committee. I should have taken it.
Somewhat interested.
I can't see that there's that much difference
All right.
in the sales from what.
Okay, well, there you go.
The regulations. That much difference in the valuation.
Like old Bob Dowling says, he says, just amazing that we've made it as far as we have. We didn't have all those rules and regulations years ago.
Come on, Donna. Let's roll.
Sooner we get done, the sooner we start, the sooner we get done. Oh, come on, you can do better than that.
I hope you
Better
got,
than that.
I hope
That
you got
big a
whatever was
hammer.
crawling up there.
Kind of fell off. I hit one of them.
Yes. Let's call the meeting to order. Mel will do roll call.
Mrs. Krantz.
Here.
Mr. Heisey.
Here.
Mr. Tim.
Here.
Mr. Mastercola.
Here.
Mr. Eckstein.
Here.
Mr. Weddy.
Here.
Mrs. Flood.
Here.
Mr. King.
Here.
Mr. Wadle.
Here.
Mr. Rothermel.
Here.
Mark Kirschner.
Here.
Okay, let's stand for silent prayer and pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Shall I entertain a motion to approve the agenda?
I will so move.
Motion by Bob,
I'll second.
second by Dennis. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We have the minutes from the July 21st, 2015 monthly meeting. How do you find?
Motion that we approve the minutes as printed.
Motion by Bernadette,
I'll second.
second by Barry. Are there any questions or comments concerning the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Now we'll have a public hearing to provide citizens with an explanation of the CDBG program, its goals and its application process, to discuss county economic development needs, and to receive citizen input relating to the Mayville Engineering Project and its progress.
Hello. I guess it works. Okay. The reason for the public hearing, it's a requirement as part of a community development block grant program, which Waushara County actually applied for about 5 years ago, which was a grant that turned into a loan to Mayville Engineering for their project in Watoma. And I'll talk about that in a minute. The other reason is for public input on any particular item that might be of interest regarding development, housing, issues in the area, primarily focusing on low to moderate income people. Back in 2011, Mayville Engineering received a $1.5 million loan, technically from the county and the state, of which a portion, or could have been all, would have been forgivable based upon their job creation. If they created 235 jobs by the end of 2014, it would have been totally forgivable. They didn't meet that mark, which it was basically an incentive to begin with, but based upon the economy, some things with Oshkosh Truck and other things, they got to about 120 jobs. They might be a little bit over that now. The part that's not forgivable will probably be turned into a loan, which will then go into our revolving loan fund program, so not all is bad. As far as the status of Mayville, they're still very committed to Watoma. Like I said, they have about 120 jobs here currently. They're in the process of investing another, I think, $3 million in plant and equipment into the facility to bring work here from one of their plants up in Michigan. Their forecast is that they'll be beyond 200 jobs in a short period of time, a year or two. Just to give you an idea of the impact, I was recently at a meeting up here in which they discussed that Waushara County had lost maybe 100 people in population in the past couple of years. Well, now as Mayville continues to create jobs, say they create another 100 jobs, most of which are going to come from outside this area. And if all works well, many will move into the area with families of 2, 3, or 4 people. So you're looking at population growth of several hundred people buying homes, living in the area, spending money. That, as well as other employers and jobs are doing the same. That's kind of what economic development's all about. But that's kind of where they are today. They love the Watoma facility. Their plant manager, which oversees this plant and a couple others, says it's the best performing plant of all they have. So they're going to continue to put investment in here, money, and create jobs. If there's any other comments regarding anything, this would be the time to do it, to reflect in the public hearing. Or if there's any questions I can answer, I'd be happy to do that.
You have a plant in Mayville also?
Do they have a plant in Mayville? Yeah, they do. Yeah, that's where they started, in the back of a garage way back when. They have a plant there. They got a plant in Beaver Dam. They have a plant in Neelsville. They bought a couple other plants in Michigan, I think in Indiana as well. They're a very strong Wisconsin company. They're employee-owned, which means their employees and part of their pension plan is basically having a piece of that company. And those that I know that retire and move on are very happy.
Have we heard from the state at all? Will they extend the deadline, or are they?
Nobody wants to extend that deadline for job creation. Mayville doesn't. They understood that they extended it to 1 year, but they're more than willing to turn it into a loan and work from there.
Did you want to mention the 10-year anniversary of Tredsey?
Oh, why not? All right. And it's come way too soon. And you all will be invited to it. We're looking at this fall and coming into our 10th anniversary of being an organization, and plan on having a dinner event down in Green Lake. Nothing against Waushara, but it was just Green Lake County's turn, at Tuscumbia, with speakers, and basically we want to keep it light, keep it fun, talk a little bit about what we've accomplished over the past 10 years and go from there. So we'll make sure you all get invited, and Deb will write the check.
Oh, wow. Yay, I got something to do.
You put me on the spot, I'll put you on the spot.
I'm sorry, but I missed your name.
Bill Wheeler?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Bill is the executive director of the Tri-County Economic
Yes,
Development
right.
Corporation, and that's a 3-county
And I've been there for the 10 years, so.
In Rosenau, and I got a chance to go through Mayville's operation, and it's pretty high-tech.
Yeah.
And using lasers and all that good stuff. It's pretty interesting. The work they're doing.
They're good paying jobs, they're with benefits, the whole bit. Nothing from out there?
Bill, you always have something to say.
I'm wore out. Just adding on to Mayville, a lot of people look at metalwork as a dingy, grungy factory job, and it's not that anymore. The metal trades are pretty high tech. I was listening to NPR on the way back from Toma just now, and they were talking about Kristen mentioned that welders make more than most executives now. So that's keeping Mayville here and attracting jobs is going to be a huge economic benefit to County.
Just to add to that point, Watoma High School is working with individuals from Mayville on educating, taking kids from high school and ones who show interest, get involved in welding and work a trade that they can stay local and stay right here with Mayville, so.
Yeah, and that's something we as an organization, others want to work on even more. Getting the word to those middle school, high school, that, you know, those jobs, you can come out with a welding job and make $60,000, $80,000 a year, move up the ladder to become in management, and it's something we yell and scream about year in and year out, and I've been in this business for 25 years, and one of the first meetings I went to, they said, stand up if you want your kids to go to college. And, you know, 90% of the people there stood up. Then all of a sudden they started telling them the reality of what you're going to, you know, maybe make after a liberal arts 4 years of college versus going to a tech college. And it's been a struggle, like I said, for over 20 years to try to get this across to the students out there and the parents. You know, the parents have that class thing where, you know, we want our kids to go to college. Well, technical college is a college. And whether it's 2 years, 4 years, or whatever, it's, if you fit into the trades, it's going to reap the benefits for you. And we need to do that to keep our kids here, that they're aware of the opportunities that are here, because a lot of the ones that go to college are going to be gone. Those type of jobs aren't in this area, but the technical trades are. Am I done on my soapbox? I'll go back to the rain. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you. We are going to move on to public comments, and Elena Sanguinius is Terry Puxton.
Hi. I just wanted to give you an update. I had come in June to have you look at, and you did pass a resolution that we sent to all of our legislators and Joint Finance Committee and the governor about some shoreline zoning changes that they included in the budget. And I'm here to tell you that it didn't have the desired effect, and those changes were adopted as part of the budget and went into place on July 14th. Two major changes there are that counties can no longer be more restrictive than the state administrative code, which does affect us here in West Shore County, and that there's more can be done with structures that are non-conforming due to water setbacks. There's a bunch of other changes. If you want to know what they are, I'd be glad to go through them with you. Just call. I'm working right now as part of WCCA, the Wisconsin Code Administrators, with WCA and DNR to figure out exactly how this all works everywhere, so we can, you know, approach it consistently and fairly and properly around the state. And if you'd like to contact your legislator and tell them that you don't think that this was a good idea and maybe there should be a little bit of a fix-up package, I'd appreciate that too. But that's it. Thanks.
All right, we have no old business. We're going to move
Yes, good evening, everybody. I'm Ben Foskey, as she mentioned. Live in Sherwood, Wisconsin. Do you guys know where that is? So just on the northeast end of Lake Winnebago. So I'm married, have 4 daughters. My oldest just became a freshman this year, so lots of interesting energy in my home. Absolutely. So I wanted to come and talk to you a little bit about our strategic plan update. So I'm with Rise Leadership, and I've been working with municipalities and cities. I work with the city of Appleton. I work with the city of Wauwatosa. I work with Green Lake County, the village of Alloway, as well as corporations on very similar projects. So there's 3 components of the Progress Initiative that I'd like to cover briefly. So it's vision, performance, and training. So those are the 3 components that make up the Progress Initiative. So the vision is what we're going to be talking a little bit about tonight, and I'll give you an update. That's really the strategic plan. Where do we believe the county is headed? And we're very proud to talk about a lot of board members have been a part of this process. We've had a very open process. We've had a lot of employees. A lot of the department directors have been a part of it. So it's been a very collaborative, very interactional. I don't think is that a word? Interactional? It's not a word. What word should have I used? Interactive. Well, that's kind of boring, though. You come up with something better than that. But okay, anyway. Interactional. I like my word better. No, I'm just kidding. So that's the vision part, and we're moving now into the performance part, and I'll talk a little bit about that. What does that mean? So here's where the county is headed. Here's the vision. Here's our strategy. We looked at department strategic plans. Now, how do we evaluate people based on where we're headed? And then the final piece, which is training. So I'll run through these very quickly, kind of give you an overview of our mission, vision, values, strategic initiatives, and then our department plans. Sorry. Oh, exactly. So why is planning so important? Ken Blanchard, a guy who's a lot smarter than I am, has written many great leadership books. The first quote really that to me is the most important. According to research, goal setting is the single most powerful motivational tool in a leader's toolkit. So as we're working on goals, as many of you know, municipalities, cities, counties are working through the last 5 to 10 years haven't been the greatest years for morale. So one of the things that we're working on is how do we move morale forward? How do we get people excited about being here? How do we, and a lot of it is really setting, okay, a lot of things have happened in the past. Now, where are we headed? What can we get excited about for the future, and how can we talk about that? So that's really the setting. Gallup Management Group has been doing research for 75 years and have found employees fall into one of 3 categories: engaged, non-engaged, and actively disengaged. And Brian, you're going to share a little bit about this? No, okay. Engaged employee. So, engaged employee. When I shared this with my grandpa, he said, "How many people are getting married at these places you work at?" So, engaged is a little different term than maybe what you're used to. But engaged employees are people, they love to do what they do. They get up every day, and people are counting on them, and what they do is really important. And I believe the mission of Waushara County is really important, and I think many employees know that. Then there's a bigger a group in the middle called not engaged. These are people that are kind of checked out, going through the motions, good people. And then actively disengaged, who are people, these are, they're called CAVE people, I believe is what I've been told. CAVE, C-A-V-E, citizens against virtually everything. So that's the actively disengaged. So our goal in this, and if you could guess the percentages, 29% of the organizations that Gallup has researched are in the engaged, 71% are in the non-engaged and actively disengaged. And that's across all industries, all organizations. So our goal is, how do we get people engaged? How do we get them fired up about working here and seeing that the work that they do is important? So that kind of sets the history. When we look at our previous mission, vision, and values, there was some good content there to what was previously done. There's some good services. There's a great staff. But the mission, vision, and values needed work. When I asked Deb to say, okay, can people, when we originally talked, can people recite the mission, vision, values? And she would say, No, probably not. So we wanted to do some work on that. So we got a bunch of different people involved, and we said, hey, we want to make our new mission, vision, and values easy to remember. We want to get feedback. We want to take an honest look at how we're doing, and we want to determine the strategies that people can rally around and provide clear roles and responsibilities. And how do we communicate that? So communicating that, one point is what we're doing here today. So the results were we had a new mission, new vision, organizational values, strategic initiatives, and then now we're working on the communication plan. So the process, we had directors and board members involved. We did a SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, across the organizations. We got feedback from the organization on core values. So we did a lot of questions to all the employees to help them feel involved and that they had an input in this. And then we had a strategic plan review. So here's what we came up with our new mission. High quality service for high quality living in the heart of central Wisconsin's outdoors, which is really, Everett, it's Wisconsin's playground, right? What is it exactly? Central Wisconsin's playground. So really that's the mission. And what we talked about, people, is does the mission matter? Are there people within this county that are depending on this organization to do a great job? And I think the overwhelming answer is yes. If we don't do a good job, we don't deliver this, there's big impacts of that. Then we looked at the vision. How do we support these high quality services? And really the second sentence there is probably the most important in this part to me. Waushara County will implement collaborative, sustainable plans that promote a more active, healthy, safe, and financially secure community attractive to businesses, residents, and visitors of all ages. So that's a pretty lofty goal. That's a pretty challenging vision, but that's what we want to produce, a place where people want to come and live and start businesses and work and raise their families. So that's what we're shooting for. Then we looked at values. We came up with a bunch of values, and then we sent out SurveyMonkey as an online tool that you can use that you can poll your employees. So we used that. And we came up with basically, we had 128 answer the survey throughout the organization. We made it available to everybody. And this is what we came up with as our top values. Dedicated and caring, respectful, integrity, excellent customer service, collaborative, fiscally responsible, and a safe environment. So those became the values that we adopted, that we would basically use this for new employees. So if an employee is thinking about coming to work here, they would go to the website, they would see these values and say, wow, I want to be a part of an organization that values those things. Those things are important to me as well. And then we also looked at our SWOT analysis. What do people think that we're doing well and not doing well? So dedicated and caring staff, a beautiful county, kind of that small town feel, hardworking. These are all things that the organization felt we're doing really well. Some of the things that we're not doing great with. There's some morale challenges. And a lot of these issues are very common with a lot of the municipalities and counties I work with. There are some communication challenges, communication between departments, and looking for some more innovation and technology. That's what the organization basically came back with. Some opportunities. Interestingly enough, one of the top opportunities, people felt they wanted a clear strategy. Where are we headed? And so it was good timing that we were working on this. How do we work together? And then how do we continue to become more innovative in what we do? And then some of the threats, turnover, budget cuts, lack of industry, those are all, again, common things that I hear in a lot of other organizations that we're working on. So we came up with our top strategic initiatives. There's 4 of them. Embracing our mission, vision, and core values, creating collaborative and sustainable plans, ensuring fiscal responsibility, and sharing our successes. So those are all things, and then there's some details that we have under each of those. So this is the direction where we're headed. How do we share this mission? It's going to be communicated. We want employee involvement. There's going to be training and development opportunities. We want to create collaborative plans. I believe the budgeting process was talked about. Some getting some positive and interaction things happening, communicating more with the board and the staff and the community. Ensuring fiscal responsibility and integrated budgeting process, as I just mentioned, and really just creating more lines of communication. And really, what are we doing to be successful? And starting to share the final one, which was really important, Most counties and municipalities and cities aren't really good at saying, hey, we're good at this. We're proud of our county. We're proud of what we do. We're proud of the work that we do. We want to talk about it. So we want to get better at that. So how do we do that? How do we start communicating and creating a culture of appreciation? One of the questions that I'm asked often is kind of what are organizations struggling most with? And I would say most of the municipalities and counties that I'm working with right now, if I were to sum it up in one statement and be the top one, there's people aren't necessarily feeling appreciated. When you think about what the society or what the community says about county employees, it's not necessarily feeling appreciated. So we want to do better at that, and we want to communicate what we're really doing well. So that's the strategic plan. Then we also had all of the department plans in the last 2 sessions. They went off of those and created their department strategic plans. So for some of them, this was the first time they developed that. For some, they've been doing it for years. But every department now, every single department in the county has their own strategic plan. And all of their staff were involved in creating that strategic plan. And I think, you guys can probably share, but many of the employees really appreciated that process of going through that and feeling like they were a part of it. So it was very well. The directors did a great job presenting that. We just had our last session last week, and virtually every department shared their strategic plan. So that was great. So the next phase then is performance management. So that's the vision and strategy component. The next piece is the performance piece. So now how do we hold people accountable to these strategies that we're trying to achieve? And that's performance management. It's just a process to align your employees with a strategic plan. And we also had a process to go through this to create some of the components of the strategic plan. There's 2 components that go with really good performance management. One component is what you do, and one component is how you do it. And I'll talk about that just for a second. Historically, most organizations would focus performance simply on what you do. So think back to the Henry Ford days on the assembly line, and Henry Ford would say, here's exactly what I want you to do. And he's famously quoted, I'm sure his family doesn't like this one, but I'm not paying people to think, I'm paying people to do. So you showed up and you did your work. And that worked well throughout the Industrial Revolution, and that's how people were evaluated. But then fast forward, our organizations now realize in today's day and age, it's not just what you do, but it's also how you do it. In other words, if you go to a restaurant and you have a great meal, but the server's really rude to you, is that still a great service? No. So the organizations that are really doing well understand that you need both of these things. It's both what somebody does and also how they do it. And a lot of organizations now, you see social media. If an employee is really rude and treats someone really poorly, how long does it take for that to be a video posted someplace that the entire world sees now? So we want the organization to know it's not only what you do, it's how you do it. So how we created the leadership competencies, the how, is we invited in a bunch of employees to look at these 4 levels of leadership. Frontline, professional, non-supervisors, managers and supervisors, and department directors. So there's 4 different levels of leadership within the organization that employees, development teams, and advisory team, we had 40 plus people involved to say, what does good leadership look like? In our county, what's our leadership DNA? How do we want people to behave and act for this component? And so what we came up with is, there's actually 64 employees that were involved, and we came up with leadership competencies across all levels. And I'm going to hand this out quickly here. And what you're going to see is the results of this. I think we have some extras. If you guys, most of you have probably seen some of this. So what you have in front of you is the work that was done by those different levels. So there were 3 different employee groups that got together and also a department director group that got together. And so what you'll see on the far left column, that's employee session 1. Then you see employee session 2, employee session 3, and then employee session 4, which was the director team. So this is all data driven. Did anybody not get one? Okay. So what you see on this chart here, on the far left you see votes. What happened is we brainstormed and talked about, okay, what does good leadership at Washare County look like for frontline employees? What does it look like for managers? What does it look like for, and I'll clarify, the professional non-supervisor. Those would be police officers, people that had specialized training, people, accountants, things like that. And so we talked through in each of the groups what makes a really good leader in this area, what makes a really good employee in this area, what would an ideal employee look like. And so they all voted on that. And then the summary on the far right is the result that we came up with, which is basically taking all the votes from all the employees and all the directors, and those are the final votes that came up with our ranking. So as an example, when you look at frontline totals, excellent customer service got 45 votes, and a responsive and engaged communicator got 45 votes. So when you think about a frontline person, it would make sense that excellent customer service is really a big part of their role. So what's going to happen in our performance management is we are going to be evaluating people based on these competencies that they actually created themselves. So why did we bring all these employees in? Well, we could have handled this process much quicker. We could have sent a couple people in a room and said, come out and tell everybody this is what they're going to be evaluated by. And how do you think that works when people are just told what's going to happen? So what we did was we got all the employees, many of the employees involved. So now they helped create this. So now when we present it, we're going to have some employee sessions. We're going to say, and chances are somebody in your department or somebody in your area helped create this. So if you have questions on how we did it or the outcomes, you can go ahead and talk to them. And so each category then, those 5 areas, will be what people will be evaluated on in the performance evaluation process that's going to be happening. So those are the votes that came out, and there'll be definitions and descriptions that we'll have that will come out after that. So the department director team got together, and the data, how the employees voted, is what drove the process. Does anybody have any questions on this part before we move on? I know there's a lot of information there. A lot of the board members were a part of this, so if you have questions on how we came up to this, you feel free to ask any of them. But we had great participation and engagement in that. So this is an example of a definition. So what you'll see there, so for example, we have responsive and engaged communicator. This is an example then of there'll be a definition, there'll be above a target example and a below target example. Why are we going through all of this work? The most common fear that people have about performance management is that it's not going to be fair and it's not going to be clear. So what we worked really hard to do is say, all your peers helped create this, so it's as fair as we can make it, and we want to make sure that it's really clear that you understand what's expected of you when we do these evaluations. So they know up front and in advance, this is exactly what great communication looks like. And this is just an example. But we'll be doing definitions and examples for all these things so people will really clearly understand what's expected of them. And here's what the process is going to be. Person's going to, and this process is going to be rolled out, and Deb and I are still working with ADP, the vendor, but it's going to be in the February-March time frame will be the first review. And the first review we do will be a test run. So there'll be no compensation attached to the first time we do the performance review. So they'll have what they're evaluated on and how they're evaluated, and we'll do a test run on that, and that will happen in March, roughly. Then a year after that is when people will have a year to understand exactly what's expected of them. A year after that, we'll do another evaluation, and at that point, there'll be compensation attached. And typically, what it is Most employees will get roughly the same. Some of your high performers will get a little bit more, and some of your real low performers will get a little bit less. So we'll walk into this process. So it's not a drastically different process than what they've seen before, but it still is a performance management system where you're saying, hey, we want to encourage the really high performers. The process, real briefly, is person will self-evaluate, their manager will evaluate them, and then the director will look over that as a whole, and then there'll be a review meeting, and then the review will be finalized. So again, this will be happening for the first time in March of 2016. So that's the performance management. This is the piece I'm just talking about here. There'll be the technical part, that's the what. So we still do evaluate. Half of your evaluation will be what do you do? So if you're an accountant, it's, you know, I finish our budget by this date, I finish the books by this date. You know, there'll be some very concrete functional things, and then the leadership competencies is what you have in front of you. And the SMART goals will be what the functional piece that people will do. So from here, what we're doing is you guys are seeing the draft version of all these things, because we wanted to, before we got too far down the road, we really wanted to get your input, your thoughts, your comments on the process and the feedback as we've been going. So we've done strategic initiatives, we've done department initiatives, and performance management is coming up. So in the next 6 months, we'll be doing that. And that will be core competencies, which you have in front of you, SMART goals, which is the what, software, which we're going to be using ADP as our software tool. Then I'm going to be doing some art of coaching sessions, training there, and then we'll be doing performance evaluations. So the board discussion is tonight. There's department communication and department planning happening now. The integration of now this mission, vision, values with our strategic initiatives and performance reviews is the next 6 months. And then we'll have an annual strategic plan review is what I'm suggesting. Every year, departments and leadership will come together and say, all right, we came up with this plan. Let's not just put it on a shelf and forget about it. Every year, let's look at what do we need to do? Are we still heading in the right direction? And here's the outcomes. We hope that it clarifies everyone's priorities. It aligns staff, board, and clients, the community, creates a platform for evaluation, engages staff, increases focus, and ultimately, the goal is that we increase the service to the community. I mean, that's ultimately what all of this should lead to more engaged employees that are delivering better and better services every year to our community. So that's a really brief overview of all the work that we've done up until now, but wanted to bring you up to speed. You'll find I'm a pretty open book, so this is kind of where we have the Q&A part. What questions, comments, any of the board members that have gone through it, I would say now would be probably a time to kind of share your experience if you'd like to. But now it's kind of opening up to Q&A. What questions or comments do you guys have?
Well, having worked with several other groups and so on, besides Waushara County, how would you rate the progress that we have made?
Well, I think the commitment of the staff here has been awesome, and the board. I can tell you most of the organizations I've worked with have not had as much board involvement as we have had here, which is really a credit to you guys. And to a person, every staff person took their department plans very seriously. So I would say the effort has been outstanding. There's clearly work to be done, and we're going to be we're communicating this to the employees next month, I believe, on September 8th. We're going to be having sessions rolling this out to all employees, so they'll be hearing that. Wanted to get it to you guys first, but I think the support has been awesome. Every organization I work with has very different issues. So I work with the city of Wauwatosa. You can imagine being a northern suburb of Milwaukee, very different issues. So it's not to say there aren't any issues and challenges here, because there certainly are, but I think the effort has been outstanding. Any other questions, comments, thoughts?
Did anybody want to see the mission or visions again? To go, start over and just see the initial mission statement and the vision? I know this is a lot of information.
It is a lot, and we'll get you this presentation as well. So I'm just going back here. So this is the mission. And this was our vision. Comments, thoughts, reactions to this? It is very interesting. Thank you.
That's great.
Does this make sense, what we're trying to accomplish?
It does, and I think seeing how it all comes together and seeing the department heads working together on this along with the board, I think has really been enlightening. I've enjoyed it. I
Great.
missed the last time. You guys that have been there? I know, Everett's upset because we didn't. Well, it took a while about with the mission statement because Everett wanted to.
He liked playground. He did like the playground in there, so. I was very pleased with the amount of people that did respond when we did our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threat analysis. 128. I mean, we made them available to everybody, whether it was a paper copy or email. But I thought 128 was actually a very good response.
Yeah, most times you'll see between 10 and 25% response rates is pretty common.
So we would have been over 25%, a little bit.
Maybe the department heads want to comment? We've all been part of it.
That's why he asked Bill for a word, because Bill kept coming up with these words we actually had to look up in a dictionary.
He makes most of those up.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, what was the one? I always forget it, the one that my favorite one. Subsume. My grandma would have given you a quarter for that word. And also, even the Progress Initiative, the name is from our illustrious sheriff, came up with that, which I think is great. We're moving forward, and I think that's the overall feeling is let's look forward to what we can get excited about.
You know, one of the fundamental reasons for doing this is, you know, we're getting away from union contracts. We're getting away from automatic increases. Our new pay policy has a merit section to it, and so all of this is heading in that direction. That's ultimately where we need to be, and that's why the what and the how is so important, and that's why it was so important to have employee input as this was being developed, so there would be buy-in from employees. I'm just so pleased with our department head response. We've had, almost all department heads have been in attendance on almost all occasions. So I've just been really pleased with the effort that's gone into this.
Great. Unless there's any other questions, Deb has my contact information, my email and phone. I am open door. So if any of you have any questions on any part of the process or anything that's going on, I would love to hear from you. Appreciate the opportunity to work with your team. You guys are very fun and should be very proud of your team. They work really hard. They care a lot about what they do. And that came through very loud and clear. So
we will have employee meetings the morning of September 8th, but then our main group will get together again on September 8th at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. If any of you are interested, I know some of you folks it's impossible to come because of your jobs, but if you're at all interested, we would love to have you there. It's 1 o'clock, I believe, was the director group, right? Yeah. That would be the employee part of it. You can come to those also if you want. 1 o'clock would be the management group.
But you have one at 9 for the employees and 11.
I think 9:30 and 11.
9:30 and 11, correct. Yep, 6 a.m. Well, actually, we're starting at 3, right? It's 3 till 6. Well, let's get it done. Let's get her done then.
Get her done.
That's going to cut
There
into
you
your
go.
donut time there, Brian.
Anything else? Well, thank you so much for letting me come in. Appreciate your time.
Ben has really worked hard and kept us on track, so that's not always easy.
No, I Brian, you didn't have Mike put anything on the computer for you for your presentation, did you?
I was told to make it short.
Okay.
All right, next is roadside maintenance. Ryan Freimark.
Good evening. Melanie asked me after last month's meeting to make a brief presentation, and she had said that roadside maintenance, but mostly particularly mowing. So I guess what I'll do is I'll address mowing and then back up from there if anybody else has any questions. So our general mowing for the county, let's just talk about county roads for now, is we mow twice a year. Every other year, we try to mow all the way out to the whole right-of-way. All right? So this spring, as we try to do that, as the rain fell and the rain kept on falling, this is our third year that we have not mowed all the way out right-of-way to the edge of the right-of-way. As the grass started growing, we started on the east end, started working our way back to the west because everything grows faster over there in the wetter areas, the wetter soils. And we started going all the way out because that was the direction that we needed to go to get out that far, to get the brush knocked back, to keep the clear zones open. So that's where we ended up. We made a few days like that, and then we went right back to just doing the first cut. And the reason being is we just ran out of time. Everything started growing, and it started growing real fast, and all the counties in the north central region south of Marathon had the same problem. So that is kind of the gist of the county side of it. Now on the state highways, we do what we're told. DOT actually has a district person that covers not only Washera, she covers, I think there's 4 counties out of the north central region that she kind of oversees, and then she tells us how far we can go if we can take brush out. If you notice, they don't care what's in their right-of-ways for the whole lot, for the most part. There's every once in a while you'll see a pivot that's parked in a right-of-way. County, we don't allow that kind of stuff. You'll see a tree growing out in the middle of a right-of-way, or up a slope that's on a state highway. We try to keep that off of our roads. So we don't have a choice as to what happens on the state highways. We are told by the DOT what's going to happen. I will tell you this, Bill went to a compass class, which is, according to DOT, everything from the white line to the edge of the right-of-way. It covers shoulders, it covers the ditch, any kind of drainage, the fence, all of it. And out of the 28 things that they look for, mowing is number 27. And number 28 is litter. Them are not priorities for the DOT anymore. At one point in time, DOT told us they used to do mowing twice a year. Then all of a sudden, back in the Doyle administration, when they started running short money, they went to just do it after the 4th of July. One time. Now they're saying as these weeds are starting to grow, and you notice some of the mostly weeds that are getting taller, like whatever they call it, sweet alfalfa or whatever that white stuff that grows up on the side of the road that was pretty high this year. Now they're saying it's seeding out too fast, so now they're talking they want us to try and get everything mowed between the 20th of June and the 4th of July, or before the 15th of July. Physically impossible with the manpower that we have. We have 5 mowers, and we're still out there trying to get town work, because every time we have one of our employees doing work for a township, it's more money that we can put towards paving a road, and that's what we're in the business of doing. So I don't know if there's any more questions. Well, we receive calls. It's actually kind of funny that you say that, Ruth. Every Monday morning, go in and check the messages. One message is from a lady from Juneau County that complimented us. She drove from Juneau County up to the valley, and Washera County is the only one that was mowed that weekend. And the next one says such and such a road we can't see, you need to do something about it. So, unfortunately, it's one of them, you don't win, no matter what you do. So, we hear about it. Like I said, every county was behind. We were actually done, I believe, by the 9th of June, we had everything done, except for mowing back on the state roads. So we had made one pass by the 9th of July, one time around, through every road in the county. Yes, sir.
If, you're told what to do by the state, how come from county to county it varies?
That is a very good question.
Cause you go north of here in Portage County and the whole median is mowed.
Yep.
I hear
We're
that all
not.
the time. All the time I hear about that.
And we're not, so what, we're that close, we're neighbors, why do they tell Portage County to mow it and Washera not to if that's your,
It's actually a different supervisor, or I said that there was a supervisor that was overseeing 4 counties down on this end. It's a different supervisor, DOT supervisor in that area. So that's part of it. Part of it is, we sign an RMA contract, a reciprocal maintenance agreement with the state to do X amount of work every year. And every year they sit there and they look at that RMA and they say, you're spending too much money. Oh, wait a minute, you can't spend that much money. Or wait a minute, you should be doing this. So every year they change their ideas and their operations on how they want you to do stuff. We need some brine tanks because the UV rays are starting to get to them and they're expired. Well, you can get brine tanks, maybe we'll see how much money you have left in your RMA. Because there's counties like us that are conservative in the way we do things. Just remember, every time you mow the lawn, mow the grass on the side of a road, it's not getting a road fixed. So, there's counties that continually go over the top of their RMAs. And what they do is they take money from the more conservative counties like us, and they use it to pay them. She'll call us, she'll call Bill, sometimes she'll call him every day to want to know what every one of his employees are doing, just so they can keep track that have them on the state payroll. So, and I'm not saying that the state is totally wrong in everything they do, don't get me wrong, but it is a wonder why Portage is mowed all the way through and we're not on the interstate. We do what we're told.
does that hold true with the salting on the interstate and that too?
I haven't been here long enough to know that one.
Because certain times, people say the minute they hit Washera County line, there's a day and night difference between, Marquette County seems like those are bare as this table, and Washera County's
Okay,
aren't.
now if it's a state road,
I'm talking the interstate, 49, or 51, 39.
I've seen it both ways though, Bob. I've seen it where Washera County has been, the interstate has been bare, and you hit Marquette County and you're in the ditch. I mean, I've seen it both ways. Yeah.
I just, all the years that I've worked central Wisconsin, especially when I was with the state patrol, I worked the adjacent counties during winter storms. And Washera County has always done what the state has told them, like Brian says. And when it comes time for salting or plowing, the other counties have kind of stuck their nose up to the state and says, we'll do what we feel is right. Again, that's being, Washera County's honoring the contract and honoring the people that are overseeing the contract. The other counties, when it comes time for salting, they basically are telling the state, stick it up your rear end.
What are the ramifications if they don't go by the RMA?
out of our budget. There is a level of service, there's a level of expectation when it gets to snow plowing and what you're allowed to have, depending on what the speed of the road is. The state has actual pictures, and we run our guys through them every fall. It doesn't have to be bare pavement. It doesn't even have to be bare pavement on the interstate at 70 miles an hour. You can have two-wheel tracks. You're allowed to have that. And just so everybody understands, when it comes to that interstate, we're out there 24 hours a day. When it's snowing out there, we're out there. And 21. They just let us start doing 24-hour service just recently. Otherwise, it's only 18-hour service. 49 is only 18-hour service. 152, 22, 73, them are all 18-hour services. So we're sending guys home at 10 o'clock at night and not having them come back in until 4 in the morning. And that is our standard operations for our county roads though also. Yes, sir.
We discussed at length, every winter, the counties adjoining us would be running out of salt just because they were just pouring it on. And then they'd be begging for salt or looking for salt or whatever. And this was discussed at all our meetings, but we just abide by the contract, and like Jeff said, the other ones just wouldn't.
Yep. And getting back to the mowing, we realized the last 2 years we haven't gotten all the way out on the road, on the right of ways. And you'll see the brush starting to build up in spots where it's getting a little bit taller. If it looks like our mowers aren't mowing clean like a hay mower, it's the reason being is that they are not hay mowers. They're made to take brush out up to 2 inches in diameter. So if the grass is a little bit spongy or something, it'll knock it over and it won't totally cut it off every time. Just because of the speed of the mowers ain't fast enough, because it's got a heavy blade in it for knocking down brush. You can't have the best of both. There's no such thing as the best of both worlds with a mower unless you had 2 of them going down the same road, and then we'd be getting all kinds of phone calls about that. So, just so everybody knows, I've been here 6 months. I'm still learning. If you have any questions, feel free to call our office, and I will do the best to answer the questions.
As far as, Brian, as far as if there is concerns, like Ruth said, if somebody was called and it's a visibility issue, obviously that's addressed, correct? As far as the safety issue?
Yep, there'll be a patrol superintendent that will go out there and look at it and make sure that they're, now granted, there's gonna be times when County Trunco, this was one of the last ones, ORP was one of the last ones done. There was areas where you had to take your time and drive out, pull out slowly. You know, there's also a thing that is driver responsibility, and it happens in the springtime, it happens in the summer, it happens in the fall, it happens in the winter. People are being, you can't always drive the same way at all seasons.
Brian, I know the county has mowed the town of Coloma for years, and I will just tell you that they've always done, anybody here, in fact, the county does probably 90% of our work in the township, and their mowing has been excellent. I mean, they've really, when they come and mow in the fall, we do them twice a year, and they cut the brush way back, and they've always done an excellent job. So, when Brian is asking for townships to do business with them, do it. It's worth it.
One of the questions I asked a couple months ago was about the dead deer carcasses laying on the roads. Has that been rectified with the person who works for the DNR that's picking them up? Because I see less and less of them now, unless they're just not even
the guy that was contracted in Washoe County, he did 7 counties, and he was in a car accident, and something major happened to him, broken back, I don't know, something big. They got another guy in there to start doing it, and he has been doing it. Through the last budget session, they have taken out, they left $370,000 in the budget to remove deer on state trunk roads. They are not going to do it on county trunk roads. Public Works Board, Thursday morning, will be discussing what direction they want us to head in. If we're going to be back by you, if we decide to maybe do it ourselves, we don't really care to do that, but if we had to do that, or if we were to, maybe the guy that's currently picking them up for the state is willing to give us a budget, or give us a bid price for him to do it for the county roads, maybe we would extend that to the townships if they were interested. There's a lot of things up in the air right now as far as what's going on with that, and chances are I'll be back at budget time to address this with you.
I don't know if it was the, when you call the dispatch center, they say they'll report that to the person to pick them up. We used to have a number that was given to us. It was a 293 number. Somebody used to pick them up from the Nashcoro area, and that's been gone for a couple of years, and now the state has got someone hired to do that. The DNR does, and we know what happened this last spring. From March all the way through till June, the deer were laying there, and the first day of 3-4 days they'd lay there, and all of a sudden then they'd blow up, and then another week the maggots ate them up, and then you got bones and
always the evolution of how we can save more money faster. To the point that this spring, the direction that them guys were given was, if they're within 0.2 of a mile of a house, haul them out. If they're not, haul them off the right-of-way, to their right-of-way line, so you're not hitting them with a mower later. But our guys, our state guys, were actually hauling them out to the road because that's what they had been instructed to do previously. And the guy that's doing the collection is taking and dragging them back to the right-of-way fence and leaving them sit. Well, it took a couple of days before we figured out what was going on, and then we contacted DOT, and they told us that was acceptable for them to do that because it was saving them money. So,
Well, I wasn't aware of it, but, you know, I've only been here a couple of years, but Donna was telling us, you know, the last time we had a license fee increase, half of that was to go to pick up the deer, you know, the 15, we had a $15 license increase, and it went, 7.5 was supposed to be for picking up the deer carcasses, and, so.
I just, earlier this evening, I was at Wapaka, the Bangor Sheriffs are meeting up from Wapaka, and the executive board, met tonight, and the chief DNR warden was there and spoke to all the sheriffs there. And basically what Brian said is coming right from the DNR is they're only gonna pick up on the DNR, on the state roads, and basically county and town roads, it's up to those municipalities to deal with it, but there would be no funding for it. Their recommendation is it's in the middle of nowhere, drag it off in the ditch. Otherwise, if they want it picked up, it's gonna be the county's responsibility, the county's roads, town's responsibility on town roads to pick them up. And then the DNR will allow a process of, like having a bury pit or something like that. They'll graciously work with you to get a permit to bury them, but, like our transfer stations won't take livestock or any kind of animals in that, so, again, this is a case where the state's basically.
And they know they got themselves in an angle right now because Todd Shaler, the guy that he was talking about, will be at North Central Commissioners meeting tomorrow at up in Phillips. So they're going to be up there talking to us about it, the commissioners up there. So
Do renderers still want that product or not?
the rendering plant in Berlin will not take deer. When back when that CWD or whatever that was going on, they wouldn't even touch them.
So really, your only recourse is to bury them, get rid of them that way.
Or let them nature do their thing, take
Or
them
let
out the right
nature
away.
do their thing.
And I think overall with some of the sheriffs, especially, you know, the
That'd get
northern
nasty.
counties that have rely on the tourism and that.
It'd work.
And there was a lot of pushback from those regions that rely on tourism. Cause I mean, this time of year, you can smell the tourists are busy.
Yeah, we got a lot of tourism in this county too, with all the lakes that we have and resorts, so, you know, it's nice to keep
Some of the sheriffs that I was talking to, we were all, in agreement, we're gonna drag them all onto the state roads and leave them there.
Problem solved? All right. Do you have any more questions for Brian? I might add to Everett's, thing about the plowing. Every fall, Commissioner asks the committee how we want it plowed. Do we want it, you know, cleared, you know, totally cleared? And we have maintained our stand on the way we do things now, and going by the state regulations. Not only, when they run out of salt, not only are they begging for, the other counties begging for salt, but they're paying premium for salt. They're paying a lot of money for that salt, you know, so that's another thing.
The counties around us pay, Tom had it down in a sheet of paper for all of us that we could pass out if we wanted. And Wapaka, Portage, Marquette, Green Lake, they pay, or it costs them twice as much as it costs Washare County for snow removal, just because of that.
So they're doing what we asked them to do. And we appreciate it.
So once again, if anybody has any questions, my phone is available. And I'm more than happy to answer any questions. Right, Mr. Kirschner?
10-4.
Highway 21 looks wonderful.
All right, next we're going to move on to consideration of possible action on the following resolutions and ordinances. Resolution number 27-08-15.
A resolution ordering the issuance of tax deeds on certain tax foreclosed properties.
And you got that in your packet.
be a residence or is it gonna be a business? A residence?
Yep.
Okay.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Don't have,
Proclamation recognizing August 2015 as Child Support Awareness Month.
we have a motion. Motion by Eckstein,
Okay.
second by Weddy. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Now, do we have any board suggestions for future agenda items? Remember, next month, our first meeting is on September 15th, and then we'll have our second meeting on the budget on September 29th at 7. Larry, do you have anything you want to add?
Yes. The document I made a copy of for all the board members is results of the Department of Revenue equalization for 2015 that came out on August 15th. As you can see, it increased the total valuation for Waushara County by about 1%, 15 million. And that, of course, is, and the new construction there is 17 million. So it does affect our budgeting process. And I have it broken down from the increases in the various towns and villages, cities in the county. The biggest changes there that I noticed is that the town of Leon was decreased in value by a little over $10 million, despite a almost $1.5 million increase from new construction.
Did they go through a reassessment? Oh,
The other change was in an adjacent town of Mount Morris, which went up $10 million, which included $1.7 million in new construction. I tried to figure out, why there might have been these differences. So I looked at the individual sales from the two towns, and I have those on page 2 and 3. Page 2 has Leon's, page 3 has Mount Morris's. And it doesn't seem to be that great a difference that in valuation derived from the sales. The sales are going up or down in one place or the other. The median which is the middle sale, is 112 in Leon, and it's 114 in Mount Morris, which I don't think would make a $10 million difference. The other changes that I notice is that most of the villages have dropped substantially in value. And some of them report almost no increase due to new construction. But granted, 17,000, you can't build a two-car garage for 17,000, so that isn't much new construction there. I did check with the village clerk there. They did issue 10 building permits in 2014. The only new building was a pole building. The rest of it was for remodeling and fixing up things and things like that. Then you also have to remember that the new construction total is decreased by any buildings that are removed or damaged. So sometimes there's a subtraction in that category also. But I just thought it was interesting to look at the changes. The Department of Revenue puts out these changes on August 15th, but they don't always publicize them real well, that the average person knows what's happening.
so really no clue why Leon went down. Do you have a clue why Mount Morris went up so much?
not really. We also would have the opportunity to have somebody come to and speak to the county board from the Department of Revenue if we would like to do that. And maybe they would have an explanation, I don't know.
I have one question. Are these just improved properties, or are these all properties that you're referring to? The
The
improvements?
dollar change is all properties.
All properties. Well, I can tell you one thing, in the town of Leon, we're finding with our high assessment ratio, a lot of people are putting their land in managed forest, and it's assessed at $3,200 an acre, and every time you take off 100 acres of land and put it in managed forest, you lose $3 million right there. And that's what's happened in our township. A lot of people, they're absentee owners, they live in the city, and I'm not sure just the ratio, but I think they can keep 80 acres to closed hunting. Anything over that, it's got to be open to public hunting. But what they do is they just put 80 acres in their wife's name and 80 acres in their name, so they get 160 acres of hunting land. And they were paying $1 and some cents an acre, and I believe it's up to $8 or $9 an acre now.
For the land that's just recently been put in.
Yes.
That was put in years ago, still goes at the low rate.
At the low rate, yep. But the new stuff is coming in at $6, $8, and $10 an acre, depending upon what you're using it for.
Right.
And close. Okay. I think that's a good suggestion, Larry. I think we should have somebody from the Green Bay Department of Revenue possibly come down and give us an explanation on that. If that would.
Certainly can't hurt.
Do you want to talk about your public hearing tomorrow at all?
Okay. The Department of Aging is required to do a 3-year aging unit plan every 2 years. And we are currently in the process of writing goals for 2016 to 2018. Tomorrow at 3 o'clock will be a public hearing in the demonstration room. And we'll review the goals that we've written and get input from the public. So all of you are invited to attend and look to provide some input. We've had some great listening sessions throughout the summer months, and I think we have some really, really good goals written.
So if you have a chance, so if you have a chance to, get a chance for them and tomorrow, please do. And how are your budget sessions going with your committees? I've been to some really good ones, right, Mike?
Yeah. Yep.
So,
Second.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Way to cut her off there.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn.
Everett.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Next time I'm not calling on Everett. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
That's funny.
8:45 tomorrow.
Yeah, 8:45 tomorrow.
Got two of them up in Jerry's neighborhood. He said he's gonna throw a lunch. Well, man.
Oh, you got stuff up here, don't ya?
Full of bullets there.
There you go. There's a couple wet spots there.